They clipped men for using the wrong word in the wrong room. 51 terms, the complete Mafia vocabulary of violence, betrayal, and survival. They didn't just commit crimes, they built a language civilians were never meant to learn. Until now.
In 1952, Arnold Schuster helped police catch Willie Sutton on the subway. He appeared on television. Alba and Anastasia saw him from his living room. Schuster had no mob ties. Anastasia did not care. He said, "I can't stand squealers. Clip 'em." 3 weeks later, Schuster was dead. That is what clip means. Clip is the family's clean word for murder when a man becomes a liability. A clip is not emotional language. It means the order came from above and the decision is final.
Cement shoes means weighing the body with concrete and dropping it into water. The point is not only death, the point is disappearance. No body, no case. Charlie Workman painted houses. That was respectful mob language for professional murder. To say a man paints houses is to avoid saying he leaves blood on walls. October 23, 1935, Workman entered this bathroom. Dutch Schultz had refused to stand down. The commission chose survival over loyalty. Workman painted the house, and the mob saved itself.
Whack and hit both mean murder. They are broader, more casual words than clip. When men say, "he got whacked," murder has already become routine conversation. Ice can mean execute. It can also mean delay action or hide someone for later. That double meaning is protection. In June 1947, the commission decided Bugsy Siegel was embezzling money from their casinos in Las Vegas, and they iced him. A piece of work is an assigned killing, not a quarrel, not rage, an assignment. The language strips away the person. What remains is process, permission, and a name inside paper.
Bump off means kill. Do up means the same thing. Older, rougher street language for murder. These words belong to an older mob world. The vocabulary changed later. The function never did. Spring cleaning means destroying evidence after the hit. Records burned, documents gone, weapons buried. In 1985, investigators found almost nothing. That is what spring cleaning looks like when professionals run the system. Break means demotion. A capo gets stripped back to soldier, and the family lets him keep breathing. A break is punishment without execution. He loses rank, money, and standing, but not his life. On the carpet means being called before a superior to explain yourself under pressure. On the carpet is not only a meeting, it is uncertainty, fine, demotion, or death decided across a table. Called in means you were summoned by a superior for discipline, and no explanation came with the invitation. When you were called in, you go. Beating, fine, demotion, death. The decision belongs to the man waiting. On the spot means marked for death. The sentence exists before the bullets arrive. A man on the spot still walks, still talks, still eats dinner. He is simply living under delayed permission to die. December 16, 1985, Castellano stepped out at Sparks, and the sentence was finally collected. Mock execution means staged death used for terror. The point is discipline through fear, not burial. Sometimes there is a shot near the head, sometimes only a pause. Either way, the room rewires the man. Pass means an execution order was lifted, a rare absolution, never a clean slate. A pass is a second life earned through value, survival, or silence. It can also expire without warning. Muscle means force. To muscle in means taking a racket or territory through threat, violence, and pressure. Muscle is not negotiation, it is a declaration. Luciano understood that force without calculation starts wars you cannot afford. That is the lesson, son. In this world, discipline is governance, and punishment is just administration wearing a dark suit. Rat, a mob insider who gives law enforcement information and destroys omerta for everyone. Joe Valachi showed America the structure in 1963. One rat can contaminate an entire organization. Flip, an arrested insider trading loyalty for leniency, testimony, and a government deal. Henry Hill flipped into witness protection. but exile kept collecting long after prison stopped. Snitch, a quieter informant giving police limited information, often about one crime instead of the whole operation. A snitch may survive the street, son, but never survives the stain. Stool pigeon, the old underworld term for an informant, born before federal paperwork and witness protection. Back then, a stool pigeon disappeared by rumor, not by courtroom procedure.
On the pad, a cop or politician taking mob money to protect mob interests. A badge on the pad gives raids warning, rivals exposure, and the family eyes inside the law. Beef, not yet war, not yet peace. A grievance between men or crews, waiting for someone to misjudge the temperature. A beef is dangerous because it still allows ego to pretend there is time. By the time a grievance reaches the boss, the room is already measuring coffins.
Vendetta, a personal vow of revenge carried in silence, protected by memory, and rarely abandoned. A vendetta does not need witnesses, son. That is what makes it cleaner than rage and more patient than war. Hitting the mattresses, going to war. Soldiers leave routine, hide in safe apartments, and wait armed for open conflict. During the Castellamarese War, men stopped showing up on corners, restaurants emptied early, and the city learned what organized fear feels like. The Commission, the governing body of the American mob, a board of bosses built to settle disputes, approve major action, and keep ambition from burning the whole structure down. Luciano understood what smaller men never do. Kings create wars, but systems survive them. The Commission was not peace, son. It was organized control over who gets to start hell. Heavy, packing, armed, concealed, operationally ready. Not for theater, for the 3 seconds when hesitation gets a chair left empty. Before hostile meetings, men asked one practical question. Is he heavy? Because preparedness in this world is not paranoia, son. It is basic arithmetic. Joe Gallo was celebrating, unguarded, not heavy enough for the room he was in. That is how men die in elegant places, not from ignorance, but from one relaxed decision. Lay low, not fleeing, not vanished, still in the city, still breathing, but stripped of pattern, appetite, and public shape. Laying low means removing your own silhouette from the city. No favorite restaurants, no public laughter, no routine generous enough to be memorized. Carlo Gambino turned lay low into permanent doctrine. The most powerful boss in the country lived like a man no one would bother describing twice. On the lam, active flight, aliases, constant movement, borrowed beds, false names, and nerves that never get the dignity of sleep. A man on the lam is not invisible. He is merely difficult to pin to one address. That is a very expensive difference, son. James Whitey Bulger stayed on the lam for 16 years, not with swagger, but with routine, boredom, and the discipline to become forgettable. That is the lesson. Lay low is strategy. On the lam is endurance, and being heavy is the tax a man pays when he knows the room may already belong to someone else. Tail, a lawman on your back, surveillance with shoes on, patience in the lungs, and enough discipline to let you lead him to the real door. A tail does not rush your son. It studies appetite, favorite corners, favorite women, favorite mistakes. The goal is never the walk. The goal is the pattern.
Pinched, picked up, grabbed by cops or Fed agents before you can rewrite the story. Not accused in theory, physically taken. A man gets pinched in one moment, then the second punishment begins. Phone calls stop, allies become cautious, silence enters the room dressed like a priest. The joint, prison, concrete, count time, and iron discipline imposed by men you would never invite to your table. Doing joint time means your world now runs on steel and schedule. The joint punishes more than the body, son. It attacks tempo. A reckless man collapses there. A structured man learns to turn walls into ritual. The program, witness protection, a government-built second life for men who traded the old code for federal shelter. The program keeps a man alive. It does not return his name. It does not return his corner. It does not return the face he used to wear without checking the window first.
Lupara Bianca, Not just murder, disappearance. No body, no funeral, no scene to revisit. The victim is removed from memory with the same discipline used to remove him from life. That is why Lupara Bianca terrifies institutions, son. Jimmy Hoffa vanished into American folklore because a missing body creates infinite theories and almost no closure. Murder, Inc. was the industrial version of mob violence, not rage, not vendetta, a semi-specialized killing apparatus built to keep distance between the order, the trigger, and the profit. When Abe Rells started talking, Murder, Inc. stopped sounding like newspaper mythology. It started looking like administration, organized, delegated, and terrifyingly efficient.
Mustache Pete was not a compliment. It meant old-world bosses who ruled through rigid custom, tribal pride, and the assumption that youth existed to kneel, not innovate. Mamma Santissima, Most Holy Mother, a title reserved for authority so elevated it stops sounding organizational and starts sounding sacred. In this world, son, the highest power is not merely obeyed, it is approached like a relic. Zips, the slur American-born mobsters used for newly arrived Sicilians. The insult was meant to reduce them to backward foreigners. Instead, it revealed who had become soft inside a life that was never built for comfort. Protection. You pay and nothing unfortunate touches your storefront. That is extortion wearing the cologne of business. The genius of the racket, son, is not the threat. It is making the payment feel more practical than resistance.
On the record means the organization gets the full number. Off the record means you shaved a count and steal from your own structure. Men like to call that accounting, son. The family calls it appetite without permission. Legit means legal on paper, breathable in public, respectable on the fluorescent light. A legitimate business is useful for profit, status, and camouflage. In this life, son, legality is often less a moral category than a costume with excellent tailoring. Crumb, a civilian, a man from legitimate society, useful at best, contemptible at worst. The word is small on purpose, son. In one syllable, it reduces an entire outsider to something stepped over on the way to real business. Dough is money. Swag is stolen merchandise. Two soft little words for the bloodstream of the operation. The language matters, son, because men talk longer and more comfortably when profit is dressed in harmless syllables.
Straight, a man who leaves the criminal life and starts living clean, at least in appearance. But in this world, son, going straight is rarely redemption. More often, it is a retirement granted to the few men the organization no longer feels compelled to fear. Father, an old-world title for the boss, respectful, antiquated, and more revealing than modern language likes to be. Boss describes command, son. Father describes origin, lineage, and the kind of authority men obey before they even understand why.
RICO, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. The law had taught prosecutors to stop chasing isolated crimes and start prosecuting the system that produced them. Before RICO, prosecutors had to prove one murder, one bribe, one extortion at a time. RICO changed the geometry, son. Now the enterprise itself could become the crime. The commission trial in 1985 showed what RICO really was. Not a statute, a siege engine. Bosses who once hid behind layers of insulation found themselves convicted by the very structure designed to protect them. RICO needed structure, wire evidence, hierarchy, recurring patterns, shared profit, shared command. Once the government could hear the organization speak in its own voice, son, the walls closed fast.
Golden Age, the years before RICO. Not a cleaner era, son, a safer one, for the men who understood compartmentalization, silence, and disciplined distance from the trigger. In December 1946, Lucky Luciano gathered bosses in Havana and conducted business in open sunlight. That was the privilege of the Golden Age. The organization was built to make individual crimes hard to prove, and for a time, that design worked beautifully. That is the final irony, son. The architecture that protected the Mafia during the Golden Age became the blueprint prosecutors used to dismantle it under RICO.
The same discipline that built the empire became the evidence that buried it.
You've just walked through the language that built, protected, and ultimately exposed the American Mafia. Now, I want one word from you. Which term hit you the hardest? RICO, clip, or golden age? Drop that single word in the comments. If you belong in this room, subscribe, hit like, use the hype, turn on notifications. Not because I need numbers, son, because the next lesson is not for tourists. Next, territory of fear, how the Mafia carved up cities. Until next time, honor the code, son. Omerta.